you very much to the moderator. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Rector of Unsutra, Professor Andi, my speaker friends, and also all participants. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again, Agnes. And thank you, Unsutra, for inviting me to give a talk in this interesting student forum. And I was told that this forum is also organized for student exchange program. And I believe that this is an eye-opener program for all participants. So kudos to the organizer and Professor Andi. If you organize this kind of event, International Student Exchange Program again in the future, please extend your invitation to Politeknik Sultan Azian SHah as well.
Okay, we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because we would like to participate. We would like to send our students to this, prestige program like this.
Asliza, we have international conference also, international seminar will be September.
In September. That's great, Professor. That's great. Please extend. Do extend your invitation to our Politeknik. Thank you.
As soon as possible.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to start my presentation today with the Sdg Framework, which has been touched a little bit, actually not a little bit, thoroughly by our first speaker this morning. But what I'm going to do this afternoon is that I would like to draw your attention to the goal 4 of SDG, which is quality education. And one of the target outcomes of SDG Goal 4 is global citizenship and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. So that will be my focus, the focus of my presentation today. And in order for us to have a global citizenship, of course, capital will play a significant contributor. And when we talk about capital, I'm sure, of course, we have different types of capital. We have financial capital, human capital, social capital, and most importantly, what I'm going to discuss today is cultural capital. And I'm very sure that we have always been exposed to the first 3 capitals. We have money in our pocket, so that's financial capital. We see people going to work every day. That's human capital. We are surrounded by family members, friends, our close network circle. That's social capital. But cultural capital, maybe this term is something very new to some of us in this virtual room this afternoon. So what is cultural capital? It could be explained as an indicator of how well an individual is able to succeed academically and engage in wider society. It is cultural capital. It is social assets of a person. And as we can see from the definition here, there are 2 parts of cultural capital definition. The first one is to succeed academically. And the second one is to engage in wider society. This is to say that a person could have the best education and succeed highest academic qualification when he or she passes with flying colors in the required academic assessment. So this person is said to be of high cultural capital. However, that does not mean that he or she can also engage better in wider society. So let us see this slide. All right. Are these images familiar to you, everyone? All right. How many times do we see people of highest academic qualification fail to engage in wider society? For example, how many times do we see people driving expensive cars but litter on the street? And how many times do we see people wearing expensive and branded clothes and jewelries, but being rude to other people? And how many times do we see young people do not respect the elderly? And the last picture, how many times do we encounter suffered abusive cats or other animals? Many times, right? So why do you think that this happened? I believe that the answer is one reason. These people have low cultural capital, or these people, they do not have a global citizenship. This is what we want to groom in SDG, social, what do you call this? A global citizenship. The second part of the cultural capital definition, which is the ability to engage in wider society, to have the forms of skills, education, knowledge, and advantages possessed by a person, which give him or her a higher status in a society. So what is, again, cultural capital? It can be divided into two, tangible and intangible. So the tangible cultural capital are those tangible things that we own. For example, expensive work arts like these two. We have expensive paintings of Mona Lisa. I believe that this painting is very familiar to you. And the painting of Salvator Mundi, which cost us, if I'm not mistaken, about $500 million. Another example of tangible cultural capital that we ourselves have is like the house that we live in, the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat. All those things that we own, that one is called tangible cultural capital. Intangible ones, on the other hand, can be furthermore divided into two, embodied and institutionalized cultural capital. Institutionalized cultural capital is the value that we inherit by being recognized by an elite institution. For example, when we obtain a Harvard University degree, it can be a sign of high institutionalized cultural capital. The second one is embodied. It is embodied cultural capital. It is knowledge or skills that a person acquires from his or her habitus. Examples include our accent, our ethic, robust vocabulary, the way we speak. So this is embodied CC. So when we talk about intangible cultural capital, this is what we would like to focus today. When we talk about intangible cultural capital in education, because the theme of today's forum is improving students' understanding in education and culture, so we will come across this concept of enculturation and acculturation. What is enculturation and acculturation? They are both the process of acquiring cultural adaptability. Enculturation is the process by which individuals acquire knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values that enable them to become a functioning member of their society. In other words, that you are enculturing is when you are learning your own culture. For example, you are Chinese, living among Chinese society, and you are learning how to eat using chopsticks. So you are enculturating. Acculturation, on the other hand, is when you are acquiring culture of another society. So for example, you are an American, you go to China and you are trying to eat using chopsticks. That is when acculturation takes place. So the definition of acculturation, if you can read here, so acculturation is a process through which a person or group of one culture comes to adopt the practices and values of another culture while still retaining their own distinct culture. You are practicing other people's culture, but at the same time, you are still practicing yours. So that is acculturation. And I would like to share here with you a brief discussion on the acculturation model. So there are 4 types of acculturation. The first one is assimilation. It happens when we accept the host culture and reject our own. For example, you are an American, and when you go to Indonesia, you practice Indonesian culture more than your own American culture. So this is when assimilation takes place. The second one is integration. Integration, it happens when you accept host culture, but you also keep on practicing your own culture. For example, again, as I mentioned earlier, you are an American, you come to Indonesian house, you take off your shoes, but when eating food, you are still using fork and spoon. So this is integration. The third one is marginalization. This is when you reject both host and your own culture. And in marginalization, it seems that you are still looking for your own identity or culture that you are comfortable with to practice. The last one happens, or separation. The last one is separation. It happens when you reject the host culture and retain your own. This happens when you totally ignore what is practiced and accepted by the host country or host institution. And ladies and gentlemen, most of the times separation can cause you trouble. I remember back in the year 2020 or 2021, I'm not really sure about the exact date, but it was during the high voltage of C19 spread. There was this one female tourist came to Malaysia. I don't remember of the country she belongs. So during her stay in Malaysia, she went to Pavilion. Pavilion is one of the outstanding shopping malls in Kuala Lumpur. And she refused to wear mask because she said that mask was not compulsory in her country. This is when she practiced separation type of acculturation. She rejected a Malaysian culture and she retained her own. So what happened next was that the seller called the police and she got arrested and had to spend nights behind the bars. So that lady, she doesn't have what I can call she doesn't have a global citizenship. So, ladies and gentlemen, separation is what we want to avoid the most, and integration is what we would like to seek. So, in order for us to integrate into the new culture, we will go through 4 stages of acculturation process. The first one is what we call honeymoon stage. And during this stage, newcomers may feel excitement, idealism, eagerness, but somehow they still have some anxiety about the future. Just like in your case, student exchange program, when you were selected to participate in this program, you feel excited. You begin to seek as much knowledge as you can from reading, from watching documentaries, talking with people who have experience in what you are going to pursue. And you dream on it. At the same time, you also have anxiety, of course, because if this is physical exchange, you will feel anxious because you will be living in the new place, unknown of what you might face. And for virtual program like this one, you might think of your ability to communicate with new friends from another language, excitement to share your values, belief, and norms that you have been practicing in your own country. Just like we see this morning when Miss Pauline share with us those what she practiced in Russia. Is very interesting. So those are the honeymoon stage. All right. And then you move to the second stage is what we call culture shock or rejection phase. At this phase, newcomers may experience confusion, misunderstandings, have high anxiety level. They may feel isolated and depressed. So this is the most challenging phase. The novelty begins to fade and you begin to recognize that the culture is not as perfect as you thought it was upon your arrival. The absence of certain conveniences may be aggravating. You may have experienced what felt like prejudice toward you. What you actually are feeling is tension between familiar and the unfamiliar. So this takes its toll, and you may be withdrawing at this stage rather than reaching out. And After that, the newcomers will move to the third stage, is what we call adjustment or regression stage. And at this stage, newcomers may have more constructive attitudes and feel less anxious, speak better local language, and understand more. So during this stage, people make necessary adjustment. During the adjustment stage, newcomers recognizes that unhappiness and critical attitude that he or she has been experiencing may be due to difficulties in adjusting rather than deficiencies in the newfound culture. And the last stage is recovery stage or integration stage. This stage is when newcomers may feel that their emotional equilibrium is restored. They start to show humor and trust, and they acquire a degree of comfort in the new culture, makes friends from the new culture, and enjoy to begin the experience. Unfortunately, not everyone will go through the acculturation process smoothly. Some of them or some of us might get stuck in one of the middle stages. And these individuals will be likely to move to another culture or return to the culture where they come. So the big question is, how do we go about acculturate ourselves? In simpler words, how do we blend in the new cultural environment so that we are accepted and be able to socially mobilize? I remember one of the Malay saying that mentions roar when you are with the lion and moo when you are with the cows, so that you become one of them, so that you will feel accepted to the group. So these sayings, roar when you are with the lion and moo when you are with the cows, it means that if we want to be accepted in a new society, we need to blend in, just like chameleons. This is chameleons. For those who do not know, what is this? This is chameleons. Do you know what chameleons do? Yeah, chameleons, they camouflage. They change their color to blend in its environment, not only to be accepted, but also for safety reasons, so that they are recognized as one of the society members. So how can we facilitate? How can we facilitate acculturation process? How do we camouflage in the new cultural environment? There are 5 key areas that can facilitate the acculturation process. Of course, there are lots of areas, but what I'm going to touch a little bit today is on these 5 major key areas. So the first one is, in order for us to blend in order for us to become a global citizen, the first is to learn new language. All right. When you travel to a new country, you often need to learn their language in order to get along in the society. And as you develop skills in the new language, you begin to understand the culture more. I still remember when I visited Seoul, South Korea, back in 2016. Before I traveled, I started to learn some common Korean phrases that I could use when I'm there. And because I love shopping very much, so I started to learn on how to ask for a price discount in Korean. So it is said in Korea how to ask for price discount. It's like, can I get a price discount or can I get a discount? It is mentioned, Jumkaka deseo. All right, Jumkaka deseo. It is, can I get a discount? Something like that. So this one day I went to buy a brooch. They sell Swarovski brooch at a huge price, different from what I could get in Malaysia. So I said that to the seller, and this face of the sales lady was glowing with surprise, and she was enlightened. And yes, I got a special price discount for that brooch. So, ladies and gentlemen, students, although English has become a lingua franca of the world and highlights world acculturation, learning local languages minimize the barriers of culturally adaptability. And in education, this is when we embrace language as a significant contributor to acculturation process and also to global citizenship development by offering elective courses of foreign language to the students and ability to converse in the local language, even though the simple ones, develop easy communication between ourselves and people of different cultures. The second key areas is to change our dress and appearance. And one of the most visible ways that people acculturate is by changing the way they dress and groom themselves. So clothing is one of the most visible and universal ways that people use to express themselves. Again, when I was in Seoul, I rented a hanbok. Hanbok is a traditional Korean dress for ladies. So I wore that hanbok that I rented and I walked on the street in that dress. That was when lots of moving cars keep on honking me, and showed thumbs up. And some of them even pulled over and offered to take pictures with me. So that day I felt like I'm a superstar, I felt like I'm accepted to the Korean community already. So what I'm trying to say here is that clothing reflects what is culturally acceptable by a certain society. So when you move to a new country, it is often necessary to adopt to the local dress code and try to fit in. So and education, when we talk about disseminating cultural capital through fashion and clothing, is when an institution imposes special dress code for attending the class, special dress code for a certain event, embedding it in the curriculum via the offering of fashion programs. So the acculturation progresses through fashion and appearance when you show a significant adaptability to the dress and appearance of the local. This practice might be seen as simple and create no significant impact on the transfer of cultural capital and global citizenship development, but actually it does. And it could make a huge shift in your social mobility. Yeah. All right. So the next key area is to adjust to new food and cuisine. That's why our friend from Russia this morning, she showed us list of delicious food from Russia because she is trying to invite you to adjust to their food and cuisine. So when you travel to a new country, you will often be exposed to new types of food that you have never tried before. And as for me, when I traveled to Indonesia, I fall in love again and again with Indonesian food. I love bakso very, very much. And for a drink, I love alpukat juice. Yeah, I love. They have a great alpukat juice in Indonesia. They are not as good as the one that I can find in Indonesia if I find it here in Malaysia. Yeah, we do have alpukat juice here, but it is not as great as Indonesian alpukat juice. So I can't wait to visit Indonesia again to re-experience the alpukat juice. Yeah. All right. So if you visit Malaysia right now, in Malaysia is durian season. So you must try eating durian right now. We are having it right now. So maybe for some people, durian is smelly fruit, but trying to eat that with the locals open wider gate for acculturation process and speed the development of global citizenship. It is not the food, but the adaptability process that encourage better social mobility. And remember, every dish has a story. Each of them is interesting to hear. For example, when you ask locals about a cuisine, they will tell you everything about it, including how it is made, how it differs from other meals with the same ingredients. So in education, we might not find all institutions offer hospitality and culinary programs, but I believe all institutions have tried to acculturate their students through food and cuisines by having food fairs and exhibitions in their institution. For example, in PISAS here in Politeknik Sultan SHah, we do not have hospitality and culinary programs, but we do have Japanese Week, Chinese Moon Festival, and Indian Cultural Week, to mention a few. This is one of our techniques to assist acculturation in education and also to promote global citizenship via food and cuisines. The next key area is to enjoy the new music. So why are music and singing such a powerful social glue and a significant cultural capital agent? Or why is it a significant global citizenship development agent? Most people hear music right after they are born, usually via lullabies, as well as most of the momentous occasions in our lives. From weddings to graduations to funerals, something about music brings people closer together and help us all pull together as a community. So basically, when people join together and use their unique skills, talents, and knowledge for a more significant cause, much can be accomplished. So how to acculturate via music? We acculturate via music by sharing emotion. We know that music can be an inherently emotional experience. The spectrum of emotions is vast. It can make us cry, right? So when you listen to the music and then you cry, it can make you laugh, you become angry, feel nostalgic, help us sleep, and even help us to party. The relationship between culture and music can be simplified. Culture, in one hand, helps us culture helps to ensure people's survival. And music helps work towards the goal by bringing people together. So what does music and acculturation have to do with education? Remember that cultural capital is social assets of a person that promote social mobility, and that include education, intellect, style of speech, style of dress, and etc. So music is not just teaching music notes, it carries other values as well. For example, it carries values of responsibility, loyalty, patience, and the list goes on and on. Importantly, this type of education also helps students progress in crucial learning areas such as English, science, and mathematics. So if learning a language can lead us to communicate with other people, learning local music can help us to learn about their culture, about the history, and so much more. For example, when we learn about a different culture's music and its distinctive instruments, we can naturally acquire its language by learning lyrics. And also becoming part of a performance, we can learn people's customs, costumes, and even dance movement. And the experience of learning and playing a culture's music can naturally lead us to become a more global citizen, to become a non-judgmental person, and to become an open-minded person. So that is what music can contribute to global citizenship development. And the last key areas is to adopt to new customs. Each culture has its own customs and even unique iteration of global customs. So cultures have other customs that make them special. These customs are a big part of what make each culture distinct. Yeah. So being able to acculturate this will place us in special and significant place among the hosts. For example, while Christmas is a part of global culture, everyone in the world celebrate Christmas. People in Spain celebrate Christmas differently with people in the US. So if you are living in the United States, you will unwrap your Christmas gift on December 25th. But when you move to Spain, you do not unwrap your Christmas gift on December 25th, but you have to wait until January the 6th to unwrap your Christmas gift. So that is the difference in Spain and US culture when it comes to Christmas. And similarly to a person from Australia and also from Malaysia, we are not familiar with tipping. Yeah, tipping is not a culture in our country and neither in Australia. So if myself, for example, I move to US, then I need to adopt to the custom of tipping. So this is what we try to acculturate in order for us to become a global citizen. So moving to our context in Asian culture, for example, Malaysian culture, we call every elderly as uncle and auntie, even though they are not siblings of our mother and father, but we keep on calling them uncle and auntie. For example, when we go to the market to buy things and we ask for the price and we say, uncle, how much is this? But they are not our uncles, you know. But that is what is practiced in Malaysia. I'm not so sure about what is practiced in Indonesia. Could be similar. Another example would be taking off shoes when entering the house and eating with hands. We also do not leave a meeting or a class until allowed by the teacher. So these are among the examples of new customs that needed to be adopted and accelerate the acculturation process when you are visiting Malaysia. So in education, where and how do we practice this? So one of it is during the exchange program, like the one that you are having right now. This is the perfect example of fostering cultural capital in education, and this is the place where you practice to acculturate. So in conclusion, we acculturate for a few reasons: for social mobility, for sustainability, for acceptance, and also for safety. So when you move to a new culture, you will likely start experiencing feelings of disorientation, confusion, and homesickness. But as you acculturate, you start to feel more connected to the new culture. There are many ways to acculturate, and the 5 ways to acculturate I've given are just a few of them. So over time, you might even begin to lose the cultural attitudes that you had from your home country. That's when you have moved beyond the acculturation and into the assimilation phase. The rate at which individual experience the acculturation process varies greatly. Some students may experience elements of different stages at the same time. Some may remain in one stage for an extended period of time, or may repeat characteristics associated with an earlier stage if the process has been interrupted. So all students, however, generally find it easier to acculturate if they receive support while going through acculturation process. This is where education in fostering cultural capital and building a global citizenship takes place. So with that, I end my talk, and I open for a Q&A. You can reach me at those 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ways. You can email at asliza@psas.edu.my. You can WhatsApp at this number. You can follow my Instagram. Don't be surprised. There are lots of cooking and recipes in that Instagram. You can have a peek right now if you would like to. And you can also follow my Facebook. So, thank you very much. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Asliza, for the great presentation. For sure, we will follow you in your Instagram.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we will go ahead and take some time for a question. And now it is look like we have few questions. So for those participants who wants to ask, you may raise your hand. Or if you don't want to raise your hand, you can use the via chat also. Okay, we have someone. Okay, Yuni Permatasari, please unmute yourself.
Check. Okay. Thank you so much for the time, Miss Asliza. Okay. Based on the 4 point of SDGs program about the quality of education in your point of view about the gender in education, in which somehow we see that education of the man is higher the woman to have higher, because at last also you will be married and focus on your family, doing the responsibility as wife and mother. Thank you, Miss Asliza.
Okay, Dr.
Thank you.
Asliza, it's your
Yeah.
time for response.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Yuni Permatasari, for that question. Yes, that's the difference in education between women and men and women actually has been practiced during long age, and in some Muslim culture, especially in the Arab, they prohibited women to be more exposed compared to men. I remember during our before I answer your question, yeah, because when you said about men and women difference in education, I remember there is one situation when I was pursuing my PhD study. So we have one PhD candidate from Arab, yeah, from UAE, and she's a female. And a female in Arab are not allowed to talk to other gender, yeah, other gender which is not mahram, which is what do you call it, mahram, right? Mahram, not mahram with them. So during the viva session, you have to answer questions by the examiner, right? But in their culture, they are not allowed to talk to the examiner because the examiner is of different gender. So how do you imagine? Can you imagine how the viva session can take place? So what happened during that time? That PhD candidate, lady PhD candidate, she brought her husband with her, and when the examiner asked her the question, the viva question, she answered that question to the husband, and husband will answer to the examiner. And what happened next is that she failed. She failed. All right. So back to this one, gender equality in education. Even though when Uni said that we are women, even though our education is high, but when we got married, we have to take care of the family. We are going to stay in the kitchen cooking, for example. Well, don't you think that even though you are a mother doing the house job, don't you think that you also have to have education, because you are cooking good food to your family, and you are training your kids for the future? You also have to have good education. If you do not have good education, if you do not have high education, how are you going to educate your kids at home? So but when we are pursuing our education, we women, it has to be in the boundary that we are allowed, especially for Muslim. Of course, when we are learning, we do not mix with men. But in terms of quality of education, the inequality between genders, I don't think that right now majority of the countries in the world is still practicing it. Definitely not in Malaysia. So don't worry about that. I think women and men and women have an equal opportunity to seek education nowadays. Yeah, right? Uni, do I answer your question?
So we'll return to Uni. There is anything?
Nothing. Thank you so much, Miss Alicia.
Sure, no
Okay,
problem.
thank you so much, Dr. Asliza, for answering the question. So it seems that we have one more question that is from Yayan Setiawan. Okay, Yayan Setiawan, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself, Yayan Setiawan. Okay.
Dengaran?
Iya, bisa didengar. Bisa didengar. Saya kok bisa bicara Indonesia. Saya sudah acculturate into Indonesian culture actually.
Okay. Thank you for the time that's given to me. I deliver my
Sure.
question to Dr. Aliza with the question. My question: how is the education system in your country? Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. This is a very general question. How is the education system in Malaysia? It's a very general question, so I'm going to try to answer to that question. But general question is actually good because I can answer in any way that I like. Right? If you give me specific questions, then I have to focus on that area that you asked. So it's okay. Thank you very much, Yayan Setiawan, for that question. How is our education system in Malaysia? Because I believe that you would like to visit us in Malaysia very soon. It is quite similar to the system in your country. We have the early stage of education when we provide kindergarten experiences to our kids. And in Malaysia, the kindergarten begins as early as 4 years old to 6 years old. And then at 7 years old to 12 years old, that is when students go to primary school. And then 13 years old to like 17, something like that. They go to high school, and 18 and above, they go to tertiary education. So in terms of what do you want to know? Education. In terms of, if you would like to know about the programs offered in our in our institution, let me focus on Politeknik Sultan SHah. All right, so let me give some introduction. And the education is compulsory, especially the primary education, meaning that those parents who do not send their kids to school when they are 7 can be fined. Yeah, can be fined. In Politeknik Sultan SHah, if I may give a little introduction about the institution, we do not at the moment we have diploma programs. I'm not very familiar with education system in Indonesia in terms of what it called diploma 1, diploma 2, something like that. Am I disconnected? Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Because in Indonesia they are called D1, D2, isn't it? Isn't it? And D4 is equivalent to bachelor degree, right? Is it? Anyone
Yes.
can answer me? Yes,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So in Malaysia, in higher education, we have a diploma program first, and then we go to bachelor degree, and then we go to master's degree, and the highest is what we call PhD or doctorate program. So if Yayan would like to come to Malaysia, if Yayan right now in bachelor degree program, yeah, are you in bachelor degree program?
Yes.
Yeah, in what field?
Faculty of Law.
Law. All right, law. Okay, so if you are right now the bachelor degree in Faculty of Law, what you can do is for your master's degree, you can come to Malaysia and master's degree for 2 years for part-time and 1.5 years for full-time. And after that, you can continue to what do we call doctorate program. I think, yeah, because the question is very general, so I cannot focus on my answer in answering your questions, but I hope it helps. So in Politeknik Sultan SHah, we do not offer a master's program at the moment. We only have diploma program and bachelor degree program. All right. Do you have any specific question that I can help you with, Yayan?
Okay, Ian?
No, thanks.
No. All right. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Asliza, for answering the question. So here we have someone again. Modesta Oki. Okay, Modesta Oki, please unmute yourself. Modesta Oki.
So,
Okay, please unmute yourself.
okay. So Dr. Asliza, that was very deep knowledge regarding acculturation and inculturation process. And I was really so enthusiastic to hear that. And I would like to give you one case. It happens before. I know that commonly happen in Asia, but commonly it happens. Like we notice and realize that that's happening in the reality. It's just like we young people, like a case may arise. It was happened before, like before we go out to study or having wider study or about many things, study about many things. When we stay in our place, in our island, we used to respect our culture, our beliefs, and our traditions that we do. But after that, when we go out and we study, we have more wider understanding about many things. Then the case happens that we come back to our island, when we come back to our place, there are different perspective. So we try like the culture, beliefs, and traditions that the people do in our place is like look to us like it's not important anymore. It's like that's not important to us, and it looks like it's just beliefs. It doesn't appear in my life compared to before studying. So this happens. I would like to know in connection to acculturation and inculturation. So because of the wider understanding and study about many things, young people tend to like when I'm going back to my place, I don't care more anymore about my beliefs and cultures. Then it happens like mostly in Asia when we see people from Europe coming to our place, our country, like we see that we realize that why people in Europe put more respect to our culture and beliefs or traditions. So people from Europe come and take picture, make documentations. But for us in Indonesia, just like hey, it's just normal. We don't put so much attention for that. And I kind of like looking for that. Like it's kind of mentality of lack of self confidence on what we have and lack of self-respect to what we have from our ancestors before. It doesn't like we have to make it lose everything, but there are some morals that we can learn from that. So is it because all these things happen, like all these experiences happen because of the assumption, our assumption, or because of the experiences and knowledge that contradict to our practices of cultures and beliefs? Thank you.
Thank you, Modesta. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That always happen. We go out. When we were in our own country, we value our culture very, very much. But when we go outside and we start to acculturate with the new culture, and suddenly we forgot where we come from. We become if we go to America, we become more American than American themselves. You know, so this is when you assimilate. You remember when during there are 4 types of acculturation. Assimilate is when you accept other people's culture and you reject your own, and then you started to you started to question why you people come to my country and you make documentaries about my country. It is not special at all. But remember, in acculturation process, in education, we are trying to become a global citizen. Remember, a global citizen meaning that a citizen with a non-judgmental view, a citizen with an open-minded person. So it is okay to assimilate. Yeah, it is okay to assimilate. It is natural. It is not something wrong to assimilate or integrate. It is just the phase that we are acculturating, right? And if we acculturate more than our own culture, that's when we assimilate. If we acculturate, but at the same time we retain our own culture, that will be integration. So, but always remember this: grass is always greener on the other side of the field. Remember that. Right? Do you agree with me? Grass is always greener on the other side. But when you go there, it seems that yours is greener because you're viewing it from far. That's why you see them, the grass is over there, is greener. But when you go there, actually yours is greener. So even though whenever we are, always remember where we come from. It's okay to experience other culture, because that's the way that will give us more experience. We become a global citizen that understand what is practiced in other culture. It is good. Actually, in my case, I encourage my students to travel, and I'm in charge in internationalization unit, so I always send them to go out. Don't be afraid of cultural differences. Don't be afraid of language differences. In fact, when I went to Italy back in 2016, you know that Italian people, they do not like if you speak English. Do you know that? They do not like you when you speak English. So if you go to Italy, if you cannot speak Italian, then you speak Indonesian. You just speak Indonesian. Pak, how to go here? Pak, bagaimana Pak? Gimana Pak mau sampai ke sini Pak? You tanya begitu. It's okay because they know from your expression, from your facial expression, from the way that you show. For example, you show them a map. They know that you've lost, and they know that you asked a direction to a certain place. But if you ask them in English, they won't entertain you. So this is even though we go out much more, and then we feel like the other culture is much interesting than our own culture. Always remember the only one thing that I mentioned just now: grass on the other field is always greener. All right. All right, Miss Modesta.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Is there anything more, Modesta? Okay, you want to ask?
It's enough. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
enough. So thank you so much, Dr. Asliza, for your response. So we go to another question in the chat. Dr. Asliza, do you offer social work courses in Malaysia?
Social workforce.
Work.
Oh, social work course in Malaysia.
Yes, in Malaysia.
All right. In Malaysia, in my institution, you mean, or in Malaysia in general?
Malaysia.
The Czech person. In
Yes.
Malaysia in general. If you're asking about the course in the program study in Politeknik Sultan Azlan, we do not have social work course here. We only have 4 courses, 4 programs department, which is commerce department, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, and what is the other one? Civil, mechanical, civil, electrical engineering. We do have general studies where we offer language, and we also have the other one is mathematics and science computer. But I believe that, yes, other institutions in Malaysia do offer social work course program. In our institution, it is social work course program is offered for short term, for 2 weeks, something like that. Yeah, but not for the whole semester. So it can vary from 1 to 2 weeks course program like that. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Dr. Asliza, for your response. Sure. So for Helena, in Malaysia, especially in the University of Dr. Asliza, they have not yet the social work course. Okay,
we do have social work course in our institution, but short courses. Short courses. Yeah, not the program, study program for the whole semester for 6 months, only for 1 week to 2 weeks, short course like that.
Okay, thank you so
All
much,
right.
Doctor.
Sure.
So before we end, actually, I have also a question. Is possible from moderator also?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Okay, so I have a two question here. The first question is how to maintain a good attitude and character while we are living under unsupported condition or environment. And the second question is how to face and tackle a cultural shock while we are studying abroad. For
All right.
Dr. Asliza, it's time for your response. Thank you so much.
The first one just now, how to maintain good attitude in different cultural environment. I didn't catch the second one.
The second one is how to face or tackle a culture shock while we are studying abroad.
All right. Okay. How to maintain good attitude. Actually, personality of one person to another person is different. Everyone is unique. Remember, everyone is unique, and we cannot expect that everyone else is the same as us. Of course, we have differences in our personality, and this is when open-minded is important. The open-minded characteristic has to take place in this situation, because the more you are open to other differences as yours, that would be easier for you to blend in. So how to maintain good attitude? Just be yourself. And just remember that things that you do not like other people to treat you, definitely other people also do not like to be treated that way. Right? So you will be in peace. You will live in harmony, you know? And the second one is how to tackle cultural differences. When we go, in this case, I believe that your question is not from the same country, right? The difference, the cultural difference in different country, of course, that will be that will be a huge difference. For example, Western culture and Eastern culture is different. Malaysian culture is also different from Japanese culture is different. So how to tackle this? One of it is, of course, you have to widen your knowledge is one of that. Before you travel overseas, get as much information as you can about what is accepted in other country, what is commonly accepted, what is commonly practiced in other countries, which is different from yours, and especially that can cause you trouble. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid things, the difference that can give you trouble. For example, like the one that I mentioned in my example just now, regarding that one female tourist that come to our country and refuse to wear mask, and actually the seller has already gave her one free mask for her to wear before she entered the shop, but she refused. So what happened? It give you a free accommodation behind the bars that a few nights. So get as much information as you can about the other culture, read, watch documentaries, talk to people from other culture, from other culture, that can be from other culture, and talk to people who have been in that culture previously. So that will give you more knowledge. If in organizational behavior, that is what we call socialization process. It means pre-counter, the counter part, and the blend-in part. So what you can do right now is the pre-arrival stage. Get as much as information so that you are cultural ready. At least in terms of your mental preparation, you are culturally mental preparation ready for for you to face the different exposure in the newfound culture. Yeah, so inshallah you will be just fine. You might experience cultural shock for a while, but I hope you will not stay long in that. You will not stuck in that second phase. You remember, we have 4 phases. The second phase is cultural shock. That is what happened when you cannot tackle the difference between your culture and the new culture. But I hope that in whatever you are doing, or after this, in whenever you are going, you will not be stuck in that second phase for too long. It's okay to start for a few days, but do not start there forever. Okay, all the best, Agnes.
Semoga bermanfaat.